Good morning on this Monday morning. I'm Pete Najarian, and I'll tell you what, it is a good morning because we have got Friday in the distance. And when I say that, just take a look at what happened on Friday to the Dow, down nearly 1,000 points, 980 points, 2.8% hit. Absolutely brutal. Every single stock in the Dow itself was in the red. Then you look over at the NASDAQ. Was there any kind of saving grace there? No, it was down 2.5% as well. Both accelerated the entire day to the downside, closing not on the absolute lows, but not too far off those absolute lows either. And you look over at the S&P, down underneath 4,300. It was down 2.7%. Just a bloodbath everywhere. Seemed like just about everything was going down. Not everything was going down, but it sure did feel like that. You had crude oil down around 102. We had the 10-year holding up pretty well, about 2.9. We had some great volumes, 46.5 million contracts trading on Friday going into the weekend. Pretty amazing number. We had been kind of getting down there into those 30s for a while, middle 30s as far as some of the option activity. But boy, we started to come back later in the week on Thursday and Friday, and we certainly returned back into these great volumes that we've been seeing now for quite some time. Then you look over at the volatility index, it was 22 and a half all the way up towards 28 and a half. Closed basically on those highs. It wasn't quite 28 and a half, but 28.20, certainly pushing that volatility index very, very rapidly from where it was just a week or so ago to where we closed out the week. And the Bitcoin, of course, underneath 40,000. That's something that we've been watching that go back and forth like a pinball machine, just all over the place. But really, really interesting to watch how Bitcoin has been reacting, because it's been a little bit different than I think a lot of people would have expected it when you started the year, given the kind of markets that we've been in. So as those markets were moving, and as I say, most everything, actually everything in the Dow was in the red. Well, sectors, every single one of them was in the red as well. But what really stood out? Energy, materials, healthcare, all of which were getting hit pretty hard. Energy was down about 2.5%. It was names like Chevron and BP and Conoco, and you take your pick. They were all going to the downside, especially some of those beta names. Then I look over at technology, down nearly 3%. It was the big names. It was Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Google, all getting hit to the downside. Financials down about 3%. It was Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citi. All of them were getting hit to the downside. And then in healthcare, down nearly, well, a little bit more than 3.5%. It was everything from HCA Holdings that we talked about on Friday, as well as ISRG, and then DaVita, and all kinds of different names within the healthcare, all under some serious pressure. You also throw in Freeport Mac under the materials as well, all of which were getting hit. Not everything went down. Not everything went down. Kimberly-Clark had a pretty nice day. Twitter, and a lot of folks who were the naysayers about what was going on with Elon Musk and Twitter, well, I tell you what, it's still hanging around. And today we've got some pretty interesting news on that. We'll hit that in 1 second. Lockheed Martin, some of these defense names definitely were in the positive territory, along with Clorox, which was doing okay. Some of the airlines, United and Spirit, had a pretty good day. But outside of that, it was tough to find a lot that was really in positive territory. Just felt like everything was going down. We come in this morning, futures under a pressure again. Escalating COVID that's going on in China right now certainly is one of the big news events that's sort of pushing things around, and could be a huge factor when we talk about some of the supply constraints and all of the rest of that. Obviously, all the things that come from China. So we were down 200 points early on in the Dow, down a little over 100 points in the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ since that time has steadily been on a move towards the upside. Last I looked coming in here was in positive territory by about 25 points. The Dow, on the other hand, it's shifted around a little bit, but overall closer to that down 300 than down 200, at least in the first hour or so. Things do change really rapidly, as we know, in this market. So I talked about crude being 102. Well, today we're looking at crude a lot closer to 96, down about 5% today. We have a little bit of a pullback in the 10-year to 283, 282, somewhere in that category, and maybe even pulled a little bit lower than that by now. We have the volatility index, which actually did pierce over 30 for a moment or two, hanging near that 30 mark, going up pretty dramatically as well. Then you look at Bitcoin down underneath 39,000. That's been getting hit. Then I look over at gold underneath 1900. That was getting hit across the board. So what are the news stories of the day? Well, it's Twitter and the financing that it looks like Elon Musk has been able to get. And it sounds like everything we're hearing that the board is very much considering this as we speak, and that's giving that stock a pretty nice boost, 4 or 5% to the upside. Coca-Cola, they beat on the top and the bottom. It's a good company. We've talked about this one many, many times. It's been part of Pete's cash flow portfolio. I'll never get used to saying that, but the cash flow portfolio where we are doing buy rights, Coca-Cola has absolutely been a monster for us. That has been a great, great stock that's been moving steadily to the upside, having another really nice day today. Energy down nearly 5% early. It's come off of those lows, but not by a whole heck of a lot. Materials actually sifted a little bit lower. They were down from 1.5% from the start of the day, down about 2% in the first hour or so. Financials getting beat up, but not any worse than they were when we started, down about 1.5%. Technology's gotten close to flat. We talked about the NASDAQ getting into positive territory. Industrials under some pressure as well. So what are some of the names that are moving things around today? Well, on the positive side, you've got Penn Gaming, you've got Moderna, you've got Twitter, you've got Datadog, you've got DocuSign, Coke, J&J, all of those in positive territory. On the other side, there's a lot of energy that's getting pushed to the downside. Also, some of those like Mosaic in the ag space as well. You look at Exxon, you look at the beta energy names under some serious pressure. Deere today was down under some pressure as well as some of the Chinese names, Boeing, throw in Tesla. We had a little Chevron, have a little bit of Walgreens, all of that under pressure today. But that's really why we are seeing that the markets, even though they're off those lows, there's some pressure there. We'll see what kind of a day we have. Kind of feels like maybe one of these turnaround days, but we'll see. Obviously, it's happening with the NASDAQ. Will that happen with the Dow? Time will tell. We know how volatile things really are, and we talked about the VIX being up towards 30. I've got two unusuals for you, and we're out of here. SoFi hit brand new, fresh 52-week lows today, looking like a stock that has just been absolutely hammered. It got all the way down. I think it was down below 6.25. This is a stock that actually was well above 24 at its highs. But for now, we had 2,700 of the May 6th expiring. Gives you a little bit of time. May 6th expiring, the 6.5 calls. Not terribly expensive either, 34 cents up to about 42 cents. If SoFi can finally get itself in gear and start moving to the upside. Somebody certainly does think that's a possibility. We're going to get an energy name in there. Yes, sometimes when there's blood in the streets, you get some stuff that really stands out. I got one right in front of me right now, ET, Energy Transfer. Now, this is a combination of a lot of different things midstream, but nat gas pipelines, certainly they've got some huge miles of that. Stock was trading right around 1085, 30,000, much of which came in a single print of the May 6th expiring 12 calls. Stock trading about 1085. They're buying the 12 calls, so it's not going to take a whole heck of a lot to get up and through there. Those are going for about 8 cents to about 9 cents. Really interesting trade, playing on the idea that maybe we get a little bit of a bounce here in the short term. We'll see how that pans out. Folks, have a great day of trading. If you don't understand everything we're talking about here in terms of the options itself, the derivatives world, educate yourself. You can do that anywhere. You can do it through books. You can do it through the internet. You can do it through a lot of the great guys that we have here at Market Rebellion. Really proud of our educational staff. But you do need to be educated. This is a great part of the markets themselves, the derivatives markets. We did just talk about those volumes as well. 42 some odd million per day is the average so far here in 2022. Monster numbers. You need to know what's going on in the derivatives markets. Have a great day of trading.